All right, well, why don't we get started, because there is some setup to do. So hi, Mike Appleby, one of the IIIF editors. So today we'll cover the Presentation API, and Glenn sent around a couple of things yesterday. One, a link to a video, so I hope you had a chance to watch that, because that gave some background, and we'll talk a little bit more, of course, about the data model for the API, but it kind of covered some concepts that are core to what we're doing today, and then a few that are maybe more advanced and we won't really get to experiment with, but you should know. He also sent around a link for text editor. So today will be a little bit different than yesterday, in that we will have some JSON files that we'll download, and hopefully sort of start building a manifest related to your materials that you're interested in, and then we'll make some edits to that. So we'll have some points where we pause for several minutes and let you make some edits on your manifest and put some content specific to your images into the manifest. So that's also part of the day. Let's start by doing the one other piece of setup work, which is the first step here. If you have the training materials up, it could be valuable to bring this up on your own screen, because there are a lot of live links in it. So that's on the training.iiif.io, and then follow the link for the online training, and then day 3. The first piece of setup we want to do is get a web server installed. So if you have a IIIF manifest and it's a JSON file, and your Mirador that you're using needs to be able to get to it, you need a way of serving it. We could use, any kind of web server or Amazon S3 or something like that. But for the purposes of this class, we can't assume that everybody has access to something along those lines. So what we're going to do is use a plugin for Chrome that starts a little web server on your own machine. So we're hopeful that this will work. This was what was used in DHSI last year, I guess. So here are the instructions. 1, you need the Chrome browser. We kind of assume that most people have it, even if it's not their primary one. But you can download that from Google, obviously, and install it. And the second thing is to install the web server for Chrome plugin that I have linked here. So what I'd like to do is just ask people to start following through these instructions, and either let me know if 1, you run into a problem getting the plugin to install, or 2, if you get it done and you have followed all the steps, just put a note in chat saying done, and that way we'll be able to judge how far along people are. So if you could get started on that, I'm sure 1 or 2 more people will filter in, but this is the kind of first prerequisite we have to get through. Any questions? Okay. Oh, good. All right, already have it open. Yeah, it will look like this panel below, and let's see. There's a little slider that says started. Let me just see if I can annotate. And the other thing is to check the port and the advanced options. Let me just see if the color is not the best there, but try to annotate this. I'm assuming that everyone in that circled area gets port 8887. I don't know if it chose that randomly for me, or whether everyone else is seeing that. The slider control is, I'll circle it in red there. It's right there. So that slider turns the web server on and off. We will create the manifest. I see Christy asked a question, what kind, what does it mean to store your manifest? We're going to create a file, and then we're going to download it to our machine, but then we need to be able to serve it to Mirador through a web server. And so you don't need anything to start. Yeah. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, we're getting port 8887, which is good because I have links to localhost 8887 throughout the documentation, so that's good. It'll be the same for everybody. Getting to about half, ready to go. Yeah, so again, if you're joining late, if you could follow the instructions on the screen, we're kind of hoping that most people have Chrome installed. So this is a plugin, and then basically you're kind of setting up a folder where we're going to put some files to serve them, and we're pointing this web server for Chrome at that as its source directory. The other, that last one is a critical one too. If you're opening that little advanced settings down at the bottom, you can see there's a little link in that area I circled in red, and turning on the CORS headers. This is sort of behind the scenes stuff that lets a server on another, like a web application, a JavaScript application like Mirador running on another server, make a request to your server for data. Good, good, good. More done's coming in. Yeah, check the set CORS headers. Click show advanced settings at the bottom, and then click the checkbox next to set CORS headers. You'll get, what'll happen if you don't do that is Mirador will fail to load, and then you're gonna have to open the JavaScript console like in your browser and start looking through the error messages. And if I forget to do some things, we might be doing that anyway during this presentation. Okay, good. I will give one more minute and then move to the next item. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, I'm going to move along. So the next section, this is 4.1.2, we're going to move to, is about creating a manifest for your own materials. So one of the things that Glenn asked is that, you know, you take some of your images and you get them hosted somewhere, and get the info.json URLs, you know, from the image services that, you know, for those images that you uploaded. So if people could type, I'm just curious how many images people have to work with. If you could type in chat just a number like 3, 5, 2, whatever, of how many images you're bringing. I'm curious to see what the range is. 4, good, good. 3, good, yeah. Somebody's at 0 or somebody's at like 200. We'll have problems. Okay, so everybody's got at least one, or all, you know, and I'm not seeing. Okay, yeah, one is fine. One is fine. I've got a few. You can steal the one up above from the Center for British Art. Might be a good one to grab because it's also HTTPS. And yeah, 200. That's what I was worried about. You're not going to get through all 200. That's gonna be left for later for an exercise to get that done. Let me clear those annotations if I can figure out how to do that. Clear. Good. Okay. So I have a few more URLs that I can provide to people in the chat if people want to add more images into their manifest temporarily. I'll throw them in when we get there. So now the other thing I wanted to ask people is when you look at your manifest, I mean, when you look at your images, the URLs that you have, do they all start with HTTPS or do some of them start with HTTP? And the one place that I saw HTTP was with the IIIFhosting.com, the Clocan one, which is why the first image linked here might not be the best one. It can cause a problem. Okay, so we have people who have a mix. Okay. I don't know if people might not be familiar with this. I put a note at the bottom on mixed content. Basically, if you've got a page, if you've got say a viewer that you load over HTTPS and it tries to start connecting back to grab manifests from different locations, it may run into, it will probably be blocked if it's trying to make a connection to an HTTP site. So this is what we're worried about with the tool that we're going to use, which is an online tool. So basically, what I would suggest is, since there are some people who have HTTP images, let's use this first link to this editor, the one that says text and bytes. And if you click that, you should get to the manifest editor screen. So if everybody could just follow that link, and you'll notice up here it says not secure because it's just a normal HTTP site. And everybody follow along. If anyone's having trouble getting to this, let me know in chat. How did I get there? Okay, in the on the screen, follow this first link there. You see the red circle? Okay. Okay, so that's the link I followed. When I clicked on that, I got the Bodleian, we call this the Bodleian manifest editor. It was a annotation. Mellon-funded project led by, run out of the Bodleian to generate this tool. So what we want to do here is click on New Manifest. And we'll have the editor initialized. Yeah, Ben's here to help. I think Meg can help. So we can try to catch up. So this tool this is just a web-based interface for creating a manifest. So in the video, we talked a bit about the IIIF sort of data model and structure, and Glenn mentioned this as well. That you'll hear people talking about their manifests. The manifest is the central organizing principle, really, for IIIF. It's a single file that has references to all of the images and the content that a viewer needs to present an object, whatever you define an object to be, you know, in the viewer. And so there's a hierarchy here. There's a manifest, and the manifest can contain sequences of images or canvases. And then the canvases have your image content associated with it. One metaphor that people use a lot for a canvas is, think of like you make a blank PowerPoint slide and then you kind of drag your images into it and you resize stuff, and you kind of, you know, you've got this viewport basically, or this area, and you're arranging your content in it. That's what a canvas is like. You define a canvas and then you attach images to it with with annotation, which is the subject of tomorrow's presentation. So what you have here is a blank manifest with nothing. I mean, there's a sequence, there are no canvases. You're looking at this blank thing. So what we want to do to add content to it is to navigate down to the bottom left, where it says add canvas down there, and click that, and it will create an empty canvas. Okay. So now you've got one view, you know, one page, one view of your painting, and one view of your sculpture, whatever it is that you're going to represent in this manifest. You've got one canvas to put content onto, and we'll make more. And if you have 200, you know, for your book, then you would make 200 canvases. Probably not manually, but you could. But now we need to actually add something to this. It's just a blank, like a blank PowerPoint slide. It's just a blank canvas with nothing on it. So what we do is click on that and you'll see, okay, empty canvas. Well, that's helpful. Down on the bottom right of the screen, just above the dark bulk action section, there's a canvas metadata header. And if you click on that, it expands out and it gives you the data entry area for this canvas that we're looking at. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, good, thank you. Yes, feedback is helpful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take an image, info.json image that I've got, and I'm going to start building out my my canvas here, or my manifest. So I'm gonna add an image. I'm gonna click this button. This is on the right. This is add image to canvas. This is on the right. And in here, I'm going to choose the second option from info.json URL. And hopefully we all have our list of info.json URLs. I'm going to paste it in. Make sure there aren't any trailing spaces because that confused it last time I did that. And I'm going to submit it. And there it goes. So I gave it the info.json for the image. It said, I understand what that is. It's a IIIF image service. I'll go out, I'll get those thumbnails, and I'll also put, use the OpenSea Dragon probably here to give you a detailed view. Okay. Good. All right. So the next thing that we would want to do for each of our images is give it some kind of label, because you're just going to see these in a viewer, in a grid, in a list. You want the user to have some idea of what they're looking at. So I'm taking this from the Yale Center for British Art, and we would label that just recto on frames. So now I have a label, and if you notice down below, the label appeared underneath my canvas, showing it up here on the right underneath the thumbnail. So that label is ignore, all right, Lindsay, ignore if you see the spinner and you think, oh, I'm blocked. You're actually not. It's just sitting, like that spinner is not very UI. Just click on the right on that canvas metadata header on the right side of the screen, that this thing, and you should be able to interact with that. Let me know if that works. Good. Yeah, at least I noticed when I was using the other Bodleian installation, it was just sort of spinning there, and I thought, oh, it's broken. But actually, if I started just doing the rest of the steps, it actually worked okay. So now I've got one canvas, and I'm going to go. I've actually got 4 images, so I'm gonna repeat this. So if you've got questions, put them in chat. If you want to start moving ahead, if you aren't already with your images, if you've got several of them, feel free to do so. And I would try, if you've got a bunch, if you've got more than 4, I would try to get at least 4 in, just for give you a better sense of how things operate in the viewer. I noticed if I left a trailing space when I pasted the info.json into this block, it would give me an error, which is unexpected. So I'm just going to complete this for my sample object and give you some time to. If we add them all, would we not be able to present just the one image out of the 4? Well, if you're in Mirador or Universal Viewer, it's going to treat it as a single object and assume that they all kind of are related, you're going to see them in one view, but you can certainly go into a single image view and then flip through the pages or the individual images within that manifest. If you have 4 completely separate objects that all had descriptive metadata that was different and so forth, you might make 4 manifests and then, you know, configure a Mirador viewer to have all 4 of them kind of pre-configured, ready to go for the user if you're building some sort of, you know, interactive exhibition or something like that, you know. Yeah, it's what do you define as a digital object? That's a question, right? So often it's really clear. It's like, okay, I've got a painting like this one. I've got a piece of sculpture. I've got something, but you know, I think sometimes it's like I've got a folder of archival material. It's like what's the level that we're going to group it at? Is it the folder or the individual pieces in there? All right, and I'm going to put my last object in, and I'm going to just change the. Okay, so now I've got 4 images in the manifest. I have 4 canvases in the manifest. Each of them has 1 image attached. If you watch the video, you saw that you can do. There are more advanced ways of doing this. You could have an image that is only on part of the canvas. You could have multiple images on the canvas. Still spinning. Okay. Sally, did you put the image info.json in, or did it just never let you get to that point? Were you stuck before then?
Sorry, I got to the, I'm trying to switch back from chat back to looking at the right web page. I was in Canvas metadata, predefined fields. I clicked on the empty canvas that brought up the areas to load. I clicked on add image to canvas. I changed the drop down to the second button for the URI. I dropped in the JSON, and I'm still spinning.
Can you post the URL? Where's the image hosted that you're stuck on?
That's the mistake.
Okay.
Sorry, I think that's it. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, if you still have problems, give us the info.json URL, and I or Ben can take a look at that. All right. Do people still need time to get their images in? Is anyone else having? Yeah, so for that one, you just want the https://IIIF archive lab. You want the last part only, not the OpenSeaDragon. Good. Okay, yeah, we can wait a couple more minutes. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, and the goal is really to get your content up and running today. So some of the other exercises, you can also, if you are done, you can feel free to look around in this interface. Obviously don't, keep your content there, because we're going to save this and then use it for future steps, and then hopefully use it tomorrow if Glenn wants you to annotate your own manifest. But you can see which other fields are kind of editable and things like that in the UI. One thing I'll note, if you navigate, looks like there we go. If you navigate back to a canvas you've already uploaded, you'll see that it's got the canvas width and the canvas height. So it took the width and the height that the image service reported, and it made those the canvas width and height, so that your canvas and your image will have the same dimensions, which is the usual practice, I'd say. you can do other things there, but most of the time you're going to have a one-to-one, one image on one canvas, and it just makes sense to make the canvas dimensions the same as the image dimensions. Bulk, well, that's a good, I haven't really looked at that. I think there's some renaming. Yeah, so if you want to repaginate or foliate the entire set, so you upload your 200 images, then you want to do that, you can do that here. Reverse sequence. I don't know why you'd want to do that, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I can import canvases from other manifests too, so. Yeah, right. We can look at an example of right to left, but I don't know. I don't know how that would get at least in the viewer. If you just mark it right to left, all it does is the reading. The start page is all the way on, is the rightmost canvas instead of the leftmost. So it's, I don't think you actually would reverse the sequence. So I'm not sure. I can ask the Bodleian folks. Emma might know. Do people still want a minute or two more? Okay. Ready. Good. Excellent. Okay. Next step, which I'm going to remind myself is probably to save it, I think. Oh, okay. So first things. So go back all the way up to this manifest metadata, which is where it opens. And the one thing that I'll have you do here is the second blue option down is label. It says click to edit label. So you can take the title of your work, whatever it is, and paste it in there. And I'm gonna cheat and pop over because I don't remember the title of this. So I'm gonna go to a manifest on my side. I'm just gonna steal that. Go back to the manifest editor. So if I click on the label, paste that in. Hopefully that won't cause a problem. There we go. So now I've given the overall manifest a label. So do that, and then when you're done with that, what we'll do is we'll save the manifest down to your local system, and then we're going to serve it up again so that we can look at the JSON and then look at it in the viewer. So to save it, up here, top of the screen on the right, there's a Save Manifest button. And it says Download Manifest. And we'll let you choose a name. So I recommend, unless you have some reason not to, I'd recommend keeping manifest.json. It'll be easier to work with. And a lot of the examples going forward, there are a lot of links to your local web server for manifest.json. So just keep that. So I'm going to download that on my machine. And now what you're gonna have to do is figure out where your web server downloaded it to and move it into that folder that you made to serve the content up. So I'm gonna find, I've got a local folder that I've called HTML. Where is that? There it is. And what I'm gonna do is copy that file over. So you're not gonna be able to see this, but you're gonna have to handle that on your own machine. Can you bear with me 1 second while I do this? Okay. So I am gonna just tab back to the instructions. Okay, so click Save Manifest. That's what I just did. Okay, I can give you. Let me just paste into chat. I'll paste if you want to grab. Well, use your images. If you need images, I have some URLs handy. I could paste in. Oh. Okay. I've never seen a warning from Chrome on that. Okay. Good to know. If I saw it, it was probably a long time ago. Okay, so copy that manifest.json file into your web server directory that you made. And then what you should be able to do under view the manifest JSON, you should be able to click on that link, and it should link to your local machine, to that web server you just set up, and show you the manifest JSON. So if you click on that, see, this is what I get. That's the manifest that I just made. So I think if you discarded it, you should just download it again. I don't think there's any limit on the number of times you click the download on there. Okay, I'll go back to the manifest editor. So if you're in the manifest editor and you need to download, go up here to save manifest on the top right, and then click that, and it will ask you whether you want to download it, which is what you want to do, and keep the name as is, and then hit download. Yeah. So once you've downloaded it, move it into your web server directory. And then if this link in this step, view the manifest JSON, this link to your local machine should open that JSON file that you just created. So no, I'm not just viewing the file on the file system. I'm putting it in the web server directory, and then I'm accessing the file through the web server. So it's different. It's a bit different, but it is just the local machine. Yeah. Great. So excellent. Yeah, thank you. Give me feedback if you're getting there. Good. Excellent. Cool. So here's your Json Ld manifest that's been created. It's got some quirks to it because it's coming from this editor, and we can look at them in more depth later. One of the things I'll point out, well, actually, we should talk a little bit about this. Json Ld. So JSON is like a long-standing web format for data transfer, JavaScript object notation, I think it stands for. But what some people decided they would do is come up with a standard to represent linked data in JSON. So I don't know, that aspect of this isn't really important, but it is good to know that this can have that this can be converted or thought of as linked data as a serialization. But that's one of the reasons why you will always see this @context key and a reference to a context at the top, usually, of every manifest, because it's basically something that Json Ld requires, but it's also a handy way to identify what you're looking at. So you see that this is IIIF.io API Presentation 2. So you know you're looking at a IIIF Presentation version 2 manifest, right? 3 would have 3 in there instead. So it gives you just a quick way of assessing what the heck this JSON blob is that you're looking at. Karina just asked, can the Chrome folder only hold one manifest? No, you just name them something else. I'm just asking for the naming so that all the links that I put in the documentation to your local server work, but you can name it you know, whatever you want for this. The next bit of sort of magic in the JSON LD that you'll see is this @ID. So basically, that's specifying a unique identifier for this manifest. What this value should be is the location that you're hosting it at, right? So this could be, you know, HTTPS, you know, images.library.yale.edu/IIIF/ something like that, right? It should be if you took that URL here, put it in your browser, you should get this JSON back. It should be dereferenceable, is the technical term. So since the manifest creator didn't know where this is being stored, it just kind of made up an identifier that it's stuck in there. And you'll see that this kind of made up identifier is all over the manifest that was made, instead of one pointing to a real server. But things will work, but it's not what you would do normally if you were hosting this somewhere more stable. And then we can take a look at the structure a little more in the video. Remember, we talked about hierarchy. Manifest has sequences. So here's sequences. Here's a sequence. Each sequence has your canvases. So there's the next level of sort of indentation here to the canvas. And then you start to see your canvases. And each canvas also has an ID. It has a type. It says it's canvas. It has a label. So recto unframed. And then it has the height and width. And then it has a list of the images that are associated with that canvas, that are annotated onto that canvas. And then that structure just repeats through the rest of this. All this blob is just those 4 canvases that I put in. And then as you go further right, you're seeing more and more information about where the image service is. And this viewer is also, or the manifest creator is also a little interesting in that it embeds a lot of information from your info.json. And usually you don't see all of this stuff like the image formats and the qualities and all of this stuff from the info.json that's been embedded in this manifest is usually not there. There's usually just a reference to your info.json and a little bit of other information, but not the full, usually you don't see the full profile information like this. I guess it's helpful. It lets your service, the consuming service, know what it is that you're, what it is that it can do with that image. So, okay, that's the JSON. Let's stop there and see whether we can actually view this thing, which is kind of the goal, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna navigate to the Universal Viewer webpage. Please use the link that I have provided here because it's to the HTTP version, not the HTTPS, not the secure version. And again, we don't wanna have that problem where we have a secure page trying to communicate with a page that's not secure and hit those security issues between the two. So what you want to do is open the Universal Viewer, take the URL from your locally hosted page, go to the Universal Viewer page, scroll down, and there's a View a IIIF manifest, and you can edit this. So just clear out whatever's there, paste in the link to your manifest, and click View, and you should see your content. Let me know in chat if you're seeing it. Good, good, good. All right, so you should see your images that you put in. You should see the same number of canvases that you put in. Up top, here you can see Mrs. Abington as Miss Prue, et cetera, was my title for the manifest. You should see that there. And then you should see underneath each of the canvases, you should see your labels that you put on those canvases. So you can just check all of those things. I don't think we put anything on the right that would show up now. And if you wanted, you can also go in a grid view just to see your images a little bit more, or get a better view of the labels, and you know, make sure you can also zoom in and make sure that the pan zoom's all good, but you should be set. So now at least, great, you've got that. That's cool. Okay, so I think if everyone's doing well there, then we can just move on to the next step. We've already kind of reviewed the JSON, which I wanted to do. If we only have one image, should we not be able to see our canvas label? I'm trying to remember what the viewer does if you only have one image. Where did it go? Here we go. Sorry, I'm gonna just close that out. Do you see the thumbnail set on the side? No. Can you? Does it show you the gallery box up on the top right here? No. Okay. So it's got different modes, and it might be just saying, oh, you know, okay, you've got one thing, so I'm just going to show you that one, and I'm going to highlight it and not show you more. I don't know of another way to get the get that information on the screen. If you added a second canvas, you would get this display that you're seeing on the left with the contents. And okay, so this is going to be interesting for people who only have one. One or two of the things that we look at won't really apply to your sample manifest, but follow along and you'll see if you decide you're going to make one later, you know, with more content, or you add content to your existing manifest, then you can get a sense of how it works. So we went through the structure. So what we'll do is we'll move to the next section of the lesson. So 4.1.3 in the left menu, if you're following along, and we'll edit this manifest. But before we do that, what I'd like to do, since I don't know what state we're going to leave things in as we go through editing, is go to your file, your manifest.json file on your file system, and just make a copy of it and call it like manifest2 or manifest backup or something like that. And actually, if you call it manifest2, the links in here will work. You can see that I've put a link to that file in there. So if you just name it manifest2.json, no dashes or anything, the links in here will get you to it. And then we'll edit that one, and that way the one that you made in the viewer will be okay. So let's do that. So what I'd like you to do next is to open the file in Atom and take a look at it. And what I'll do is I'm going to actually switch over to sharing my text editor. And we'll just take a look at what we have. And I don't think we're going to get through all of this, so maybe just one or two. So here is my manifest file. And what I'd like to do is add or edit the description. So because we use the manifest editor, it kind of defaulted to putting a bunch of values in fields that you could have edited in that, but you can also come in and edit them here. So if you look down in the sort of 7th line here, you can see there's a key called description. So there's a property off of the manifest in the JSON that provides a description. It can be internationalized. So what you're seeing here is a pattern where there's a value, but there's also a language associated with it. This could have just been straight up text, right? You know, you could have uninternationalized text, sort of like you see here in the attribution, where it's just, you know, just a string with no language associated with it. But if you wanted to have multiple language options, and then the viewer could sort of pick one that best matched the user's language preferences in their browser, you can do it this way. So what you should do here is just highlight this and edit it. And the other piece that I wanted people to modify is the attribution, which is in line, on my output is in line 14. It's probably in the same rough location in yours, I suspect. Attribution is where you would give credit to the providing institution usually. So I would say, you know, Yale Center for British Art, Yale University. Okay, and I'll save that. So once you've made those two changes to your manifest2 file, try hitting that link. I forgot to rename my file, so I'm gonna have to just hit manifest. JSON, make sure that when you load it, you see those changes. So you should see attribution can take multiple values, if I recall correctly. And one of the things that I wanted to show you is if you click on the link for attribution, what you're gonna get to is, see one or more attribution labels. What you'll get to is the location and the specification that describes it. So what we can do next is once you've made those two edits to the description and attribution, take the URL of your new manifest, whichever one you're editing, manifest2, manifest.json, whichever one, go back to the universal viewer page and reload it. And in this case, you can see I now have a description here in the metadata block, and I also have an attribution showing, actually showing in two places, right? So let me know, are you having success with the editing, or anyone running into problems? All right, okay, good. So the other thing I wanted to just do while we're here before we move on, and I think we're just not going to get through all of this, but I'm not sure how much JSON you really want to edit as a group, and I think people are doing well and have it, is just looking at the specification. So if I look at description, for instance, in the specification, you're going to find that there's a sort of structure to the description of each of these properties, and if you want to know more about any of them, you're going to have to read the spec language, and basically what you typically get is first a description of what the property is for. You'll get something about what the client should do. So this is like telling the developers of a Mirador or Leaflet or Universal Viewer what we think the client requirements are for this. So in this case, we say, if somebody puts a description in, clients should display descriptions for manifests and canvases, and may, like less firm about that, display descriptions that might be on other things. Okay. So if you had a description on your sequence or something like that, it might not, it's less important, right? And it also talks about, the bullets are talking about what are the requirements for you as a manifest creator when you create this. So we're creating a manifest and it should have one or more descriptions. Okay. But it also says other resource types may have one or more descriptions. And so basically that's saying, hey, if you're making a canvas and you want to put a description on a canvas, it's a resource. You could put it on there, but keep in mind, like there's pretty much nobody's going to render that, or it may not be rendered. I think actually Mirador 3 might actually render. So reading this tells you kind of what the expectations are and requirements are for you as a manifest creator. It also tells you what the viewer folks are reading, and what kind of clues you in that, hey, if you put this piece of data here on this thing, it may be rendered, but it very well might not be, right? And it gives you some set of expectations around what the viewers are likely to do. So is that clear? Any questions on that? Okay. I advise you to try, if you're building like an institutional pipeline for manifests, I advise you to like try the manifests out in the different viewers, because you will see different behaviors, and you don't want to invest a lot in putting, you know, descriptions on your canvases and then find that the viewer you're planning to use isn't going to display them, or you've got to do more work, right? I mean, I'm making that up as an example, but that kind of thing can happen. All right, we have under 10 minutes left. So there was another exercise that I think we'll skip, but you can tackle on your own, which is in the video, I showed a medieval manuscript with a table of contents, and you could click on it on the table of contents, and it would jump to the correct place in the structure. So this example is basically there's a blank key in the manifest that you created called structures, and what you could do is replace that with this block, and the only trick is you have to replace this value with the ID of the canvas you want to be able to jump to when somebody clicks on. We'll see a label in the table of contents called introduction. And then whatever canvas ID you put in here will be the one that you would go to. So probably a really quick edit to make and to let you view that. This could be helpful too if you're building up like if for the purposes of your project, you're building a manifest that's got sort of multiple images from multiple objects in it or something like that, and you want to kind of demarcate like, you know, chapter sections or sections of it so that people can quickly jump to views of different objects. So you can use that. So I'll just pause and see if there are any questions. Are there tools? There are various libraries in different languages. I'm trying to think of something that actually just takes a spreadsheet and does it. I'm not aware of anything. Ben, do you know of anything? Yeah, I know there's some libraries that tie into like the Samvera repository system to help do this. There are like standalone Ruby and Python libraries that but you would have to write the code that reads the spreadsheet and then kind of uses their API to build the manifest structure and then export it. So it would be almost more work on some level than just writing the code to output the JSON for your specific use case, unless you're trying to like productionize it, you know, in a bigger workflow. Yeah, maybe that's a gap we should look at. Tools for aligning images. Man, that was in Photoshop, and that took me a long time. I had about a dozen images on that, but you can get really interesting effects. You also start getting annoyed when the photographers are slightly off angle, and you don't want to like, you can't do any, you know, can't modify the originals right for conservation. Yeah, the VNA does have that cool tool. I don't know how that would work when you're dealing with a super large manifest, but they have one that they've used for like an online exhibition type thing to let you fade in and out across multiple separate images. Is it wise to organize the manifest in folders? Just make sure you have a tight and consistent file naming structure for the manifest. How many, you know, I guess the question is what's the size, you know, if your cap is in the thousands or something, just having a consistent naming structure would be helpful. And that's basically what we did, you know, so Yale Center for British Art, where I used to work, we basically exported all the manifests out into an S3 bucket, and S3 doesn't really care how many keys you have at a given level. So we just put them all in, you know, at the same level. But you could also think about some kind of hierarchical structure, maybe based on your, like a pair tree, like based on your IDs, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's really up to like how big are you scaling out? But nothing in the URL to the manifest is like significant, right? Like it's not like the image API where there are parts that have to be structured a certain way or something. It's like wherever it is that you put that in the @ID section, and that's what you want to, and that's what it will request. But you'll see patterns where people put like the ID/canvas, and then all their canvas IDs are under that or whatever. But that's just for help keeping things kind of consistent and algorithmically generated, but it's not significant in any way. What do you assign to utilize for We don't. Ben, do you have any comment on that?
We don't.
Yeah,
We're using persistent URL pathways, but not DOIs.
yeah, we're not. Ooh, almost out of time. All right, I am going to do one last thing if I can find it. Pardon me here. There we go. Okay. Really quickly, and hope you all can see this, Presentation API changes, thanks to Simeon Warner, who's one of my colleagues on the editorial group who put this together. If you're moving from version 2 to version 3, there's a couple of things you should know. One, Json Ld version is changing. And two, we're moving from open annotation as the annotation standard to W3C web annotations. Sequence is going away. That's the most disconcerting. Oh, you see my hand right there. Okay, sorry about that. I'm gonna just, and we'll get you out of here in under 2 minutes. Do you see it now? Sequences are being removed, so you're going to use the structures, which is the next part that we didn't do. So maybe have a look at that, because it'll give you a sense of how things are organized in the next version. The @ID and @type, we're getting rid of the @ signs because that causes programmers headaches. So that'll be a little bit different. And the pattern that you saw for internationalization with the language, @value is changing. So those range from fairly substantial to fairly minor changes, but they're all things that you should be aware of. I won't go into this, but it's there. And also, one thing I'd point out is we're working on a cookbook that will show you things like the AV support. But the biggest change that all of this was geared around was adding the ability to support time-based content in IIIF. And so in addition to a height and a width, canvases in version 3 can have a duration, and you can annotate content to particular time segments on a canvas. So you can have just a width and a height on your canvas, normal 2D content. You can have width, height, and duration. So if you want to have a video, you get, all three. And if you want to just have an audio canvas, you can have duration. So anyway, I've kept you a minute too long. Very sorry, but thank you. And if you have any questions, reach out on Slack. Thanks very much.